both of them stay and they fucking pull that off. There's just no way.
Why would he want to? Why would he want to go back and play with Harden though? Wasn't there last year that he wanted to get away from Harden?
Yeah, and I also think vice versa.
I don't know what he. I don't. I thought. So
I thought they didn't like each other in OKC, and then, I thought it was Russ and Harden who were boys, but that didn't work out in Houston. And now, Brooklyn, we saw Harden, KD, and Kyrie didn't work out, and now he wants to play with Harden again. I also thought it was kind of funny that him saying his preferred landing spots were the Sixers and the Celtics, and then said that he wants to play with a guy like Marcus Smart. It's like not Tatum or Brown. I don't know, man. Shit makes my blood boil.
Well, boys, I just started this because we were already having a great conversation about Kevin Jeff. I love doing that sometimes just to see if Dunny catches it. I don't know if I've done that with Amari on here before. So Amari just got sneak attack with like a chair shot to the back there, but we're back here. Amari McPherson here. Thank you for joining us. As always, recurring guest on the show. As always, yes. Jake Michael with Donovan Holden. We're talking about the obvious. Kevin Durant. I've been very dramatic about this meeting. We've been here. I think last week we were even like prefacing the meeting happening. The fact that we have such a meeting dialogue, that shows you where we are with the NBA in the summer. But it actually came out with more news. We got some answers because apparently Kevin Durant he's really serious about this trade request. He's not joking unless Steve Nash and Sean Marks get canned. So it's an issue with the management and evidently the head coach. So here's my theory, guys. And Amar, I'm going to throw it to you first after this. I really think the beef is with Sean Marks more than anything else. I think that's who the issue has been with the whole time. And I don't know if that's the obvious thing or not, but I think maybe Nash isn't a good coach. And I would believe that, to be honest. I mean, it's his first job and he's put in a pretty horrible situation for all things considered. First job, pressure wise, and getting to work with the talent he's had amassed, whatever else. But Marks is also boys with Steve Nash too. Like Marks has loyalty to Steve Nash. Steve Nash's loyalty is honestly the most interesting thing to me in this, or is he just kind of at the point where it's like whatever happens, and I'm gonna make my TikToks and I'll be happy. Amari, you're muted, bro.
Here we go.
There we go.
You hear me the whole time. I've been having trouble with it anyway. But yeah, I was saying I hope he makes more TikToks because that's certainly entertaining. Because we know he has a sense of humor. We just need to see it more, especially if it's not on a burner. But that's old news. But Sean Marks. I definitely think it is with him, and Steve Nash is definitely kind of collateral damage, if you will. Because if you think the GM, he's the one that picks the coach anyway. And not only that, he's stuck by Steve Nash this whole time. Steve Nash has kind of been thrown under the bus before even his first game from Kyrie's comments before last season, with them not even needing a coach. So, I wonder who's going to run the team then, just you guys? So, I don't know. But definitely with Sean Marks. So, we'll see what ownership does. He already came out and said that they're going to stick with the GM and the head coach. But Kevin Durant has, 4 years left on his contract? So, it's like, what are you going to do? And, sure, maybe you could sit out, but then have fun not playing while you're also getting older, trying to win another championship. So we'll see how that works out.
If it goes to training camp, I want to know how, I still don't feel like he's serious. That's where I'm at with it, though. Is it really a better situation? I guess it is.
When you come out and say it's the GM, head coach, or me, and that gets public, I think you're pretty serious, no matter how ridiculous that sounds.
It is pretty ridiculous. Yeah. It's a pretty bold stance to come out with, even though it's not really him. It's through shams and everything else. But what were you gonna say, Donnie?
No, I was just gonna say I'm in agreement that it must be pretty serious because outside of those comments getting out, think about the team that the Brooklyn Nets actually have aside from all the drama. That's his best chance to win. I think regardless of if he ends up next to Devin Booker and Chris Paul, regardless if he ends up next to Jason Tatum in Boston. I think if him and Kyrie could, grow up, put their differences aside, and, maybe I shouldn't say grow up because I don't know what's happening behind closed doors. Maybe it is that bad. I don't believe that right now, but it could be. But I think if Kyrie and KD can put their differences aside, maybe they do have to move on from Steve Nash. If that's the case, I don't think they're going to move on from Sean Marks, at least this year. So if they can put those differences aside, I think any landing spot for KD is worse than him returning to Brooklyn with Kyrie. They have some of the best role players in the league, role players fit for a championship roster. The two of the best, I'd say two of the top 5 offensive players in the league in Kyrie and KD themselves. And then you have Ben Simmons, who's another wild card, another wrench thrown into this whole mess, because we don't even know where he's at as far as playing and liking these guys, liking the coach, liking the management. All those things aside, this is why I think it must be serious, because you would think it'd be a no-brainer to return to Brooklyn and run this thing back. Obviously, it's been pretty ugly the last 2 years, but it must be serious. There must be some actual feelings hurt or some actual relationships that don't work, because why not return to the Brooklyn Nets and try to get all this drama behind you? Or maybe they're just in too deep and KD fears that he looks foolish and wants to get out.
Yeah, really quick. Like you were saying, the difficult part about this whole thing is what other alternative does he have? Because like we were just saying before the show went live, this is the best roster that he has, because no matter where you go or no matter where you want to go, you're Kevin Durant and you have 4 years left on your contract. So the team that you want to go to, they're going to have to give up some type of asset to get you. So that's going to offset whatever big roster you think you're going to play with. This isn't OKC again. This isn't Brooklyn from last year before James Harden got traded. Whatever team that you go to, you're going to have to give up somebody in order to get you. And not to say that roster is going to be depleted, but it could definitely possibly hurt whatever championship hope that you have going into next summer.
And they have to make the money work. Like you mentioned the 4-year contract. So even if it is, certain players going out the door, it might be even more than that to make the money work down the road. Because obviously, if you're trading for KD, you want him for all 4 of those years. You don't want the same thing to happen where he requests another trade.
You're going to have to give up some type of established star or multiple draft picks. I mean, not everybody is saying F those picks, but, if you don't want to deplete your whole roster and deplete your whole future, I mean, it's not really going to work out. So you might as well go back to Brooklyn at this point, even if he's already thrown the GM and head coach under the bus again.
Does he just really want to play with Jason Tatum?
I don't know, man. All right, I don't know. Should we get into the Celtics ordeal?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Right, I don't think it's an ordeal from your side. I think KD really just wants to play with Jason Tatum.
I believe that. I believe
that only can be because Shams in the.
Well, he said he wants to play with Smart too, and he has a good relationship with Ime. Like I believe that it might be a destination for him.
Go ahead. In the McAfee interview, Shams had a little slight comment that everybody tweets wise and whatever wise. I don't think this part out. He said, as the last time, as much as I know, the Celtics are not willing to part ways in any way with this deal.
Well, that's why.
So it's nothing from the Celtics
because that's never the headline.
Yeah. No, never the headline. Never, ever.
And I know that. And people who are tuned into the Celtics organization know that. But Shams, Woj, all the stories from The Athletic, they just won't put that. They'll put it in their stories, but it will be at the very bottom, nowhere near the headline. And anything that's clipped from the McAfee show or clipped from SportsCenter or ESPN, any of those shows, it's not going to be clipped. That part won't be there. And he, like you said, in a very short breath, but in the same breath, it was
right after he was talking about it. He was like, as far as I know, blah blah. I was like,
it's
all right,
crazy, man.
Like, here we go. But it is just a good lesson in sports media nowadays, I guess, in general. But I do think there's a thing with Durant, at least, really wanting to just play with Tatum, and it makes a lot of sense from his side, I guess. I mean, Tatum's a better running mate than Kyrie would be, a million times better. That's the best case scenario.
Just on availability alone.
Yeah. Yeah. That part.
Just on games played.
Too. Yeah. I was just thinking about
Grant Williams is a better running mate at this point.
That's just praise for Grant.
Yeah, jokes there, but I mean, and when I get worked up and upset, and I feel like people what I'm trying to say when I say that I don't want Durant in Boston. I don't want him because of the circumstances. I was having this conversation the other day. Like, of course, if Sean Marks really meant what he said about how he wants veteran guys who are willing to play hard in return, like if we give him Grant Williams, Al Horford, and Derek White and a bunch of picks, like obviously any Celtics fan would do that. I'm just saying I'm not here to watch the Celtics, who are 2 games away from the NBA Finals and who just built this, brought in a few championship rotation guy type players this offseason. I'm not here to watch them blow that up for a guy who, I'm sorry, I love KD. He's one of my favorite players. He just has not been loyal to a team his entire NBA career. I mean, he has a 4-year deal and he's asking out.
He's the real millennial superstar.
Yeah.
Everybody thought it was Bron. I was like, no, it's KD, bro.
No, it is KD. And, like I said before, I don't know what's happening behind closed doors, but all I can go off of is what I'm seeing, what I'm reading, what I'm hearing. If that means parting ways with Jaylen Brown, that is not the superstar I want in return. I don't even think there's a guy in the league or a package in the league that a team could give us right now that would, return the value of what Jaylen Brown's going to give us.
Ja Morant.
No.
I don't think Memphis would do that, but it would have to be something like that.
I'm saying for you.
Yeah,
Memphis is never trading Ja Morant.
That's the bar. That's where it would start. And I still, call me crazy, I still don't know if I would do that.
Another point to what you're trying to say. I mean, I think we all can fairly say that we know that Jason Tatum is a better player than Jaylen Brown, but you're coming off, like you said, the NBA Finals in which Jaylen Brown was the better player. So you're talking about getting rid of the better player in the finals that you were just in order to get KD, which again,
and just like
have KD, he's obviously better than both of those guys. But I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen, because getting rid of Jaylen Brown and whoever else you may get rid of, what is that going to do for the roster going into next season? Because that could ruin all types of chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say the psyche of a team like that, like that's it's in a fragile, like I'm not necessarily a fragile spot, but I can't think of a better word. Like in a position where there's gonna be different type of pressure this year going on to them, just naturally from how close they got. That's just.
I also think fragile, like, kind of is a fair word, just because of the thing.
I mean, I guess they've been
fragile.
Yeah, they're a fragile team when it comes to
since like.
Anyways, yeah.
I mean, since the Jays played their first season together, it has been fragile. Like, there's been so many times where it's felt so close. A superstar away. We bring in Gordon Hayward. He snaps his leg. First game of the year. Kyrie Irving experience from that point on did not work out. Kemba Walker, obviously, I don't think people were as hyped, as the Kyrie thing, but everyone was like, oh, the Jays are a year older. We have another scoring point guard. We have the rotational guys. Fell short again. The bubble was disappointing. Conference finals, everyone was still like, oh, the young Jays made a conference final. The year after, disappointment. We get rid of Kemba. We have this amazing year. It feels like we got, it doesn't feel like we did get as close as we've gotten with this group. I think it is fragile. I think you make a move like this with Durant, if it flops, you gave up a 10-year window of where you could repeat close to what you did last year for the next 10 years for what? 2 years of this same KD. I'm not saying he won't be good for all 4 years on his contract. I don't know if he'll be around for all 4 years of his contract. And I think there's 1-2 years max where he's still better than Jason Tatum. I think 2 years time from now, he will not be better than Jason Tatum. That might be a hot take. That might be biased.
It'll be close.
At least if they trade KD with Jaylen Brown, he won't have to get a new number.
That's true.
7
for 7.
No,
that's good too. If you believe in that, like that's a good number most times. People like the lucky number 7. So it seems like maybe it'll work out for both. Kyrie and Jaylen Brown would be the most interesting pairing. That'll backcourt ever.
Kyrie
might kill him. Jaylen might try to kill him.
I don't know. I feel like Kyrie would get on that whole Kanye West action, and he would.
Do you see those
sound.
glasses today?
Yeah, JB was out there looking like an alien with those things on.
It was like a superhero costume.
It kind of fits JB.
Didn't fit the mask.
JB kind of belongs in that fashion scene, though. He already has his whole juice brand rolling. I like it. I feel like, and it's usually just old heads on like Boston radio who are like, JB is gonna lose his mind, like he's doing business with Kanye. That just sounds like a smart businessman to me. Kanye is worth $1 billion. That just makes sense.
And as long as you can put up, I said this yesterday because so our friend Brett, so it was like, how does Gap is so random? I said it's Gap because they're the only ones who are willing to give him the money and put up with his shit. I bet a lot of people will put up the money, but it's also letting Kanye do whatever Kanye. I can't imagine what working with him in a fashion place is.
Also, like. Gap is probably on the way out.
You think he hits his deadlines?
I don't know. If it's any indication about his music, then no.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They're just waiting on the Kanye.
But they're probably
Kanye line for like 7 months. Like, what are we doing?
They probably put up with it.
Kanye, the summer collection. It's October, bro. Like,
all right. I have 2 questions that I want us to go around the horn on before we get past the Nets drama here. The first one. I want to go around and say where we think KD will play next season, what team he'll be on, and then, a brief. You don't have to say exactly what you think the package would be, or if you think he's returning to Nets, obviously no package. But yeah, the team we think he's going to land on, what the package looks like, then go from there. And then the second question is, I say we go through Kyrie, Ben Simmons, and KD and say where we think or I guess at this point it would be just Kyrie and Ben Simmons and where we think they're going to play as well.
Okay.
So Jake, start it off, then we'll go to Mari, then I'll go.
The Boston Celtics for Jalen. No, I'm kidding. I don't even know. There was like a 10 minutes today. There was 10 minutes today where I was like, I don't know, man. Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant. It would be fun. It really would.
It would be. That's the thing. I wouldn't be mad about it, but I would be so sad for JB.
No, I know the circumstances suck. And Jalen, that's like, yeah.
And a KD Celtics jersey would go hard, man. I would have to add it to my selection.
If they lost to the Heat, if they lost in Game 7, would you feel better about it?
Yes. You mean if the Celtics had lost to the Heat in Game 7, never made it to the finals?
Everything else in the world is the same. The Warriors beat the Heat in 6, and the Celtics never made the finals.
Yeah, I'd be more inclined to listening to all this.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just it does change. Like making the finals,
it does
change the circumstances of the team.
Yeah, because then that whole argument about them being 2 wins away, it means nothing. It doesn't exist.
It's gonna be the Raptors, bro. I said that a couple weeks ago. They're gonna put up Scotty. You trade Scotty Barnes for fucking Kevin Durant every day.
Scotty Barnes.
Masai is just trying to finesse it as long as he can. But bro, Kevin Durant and like Pascal and Fred VanVleet and the way that team, they can build that team, it's going to be disgusting. We've seen it happen already, right? Like
I was going to say, you think they would know that they're able to do that? They did it with Kawhi
already. He's just
posturing.
He's just waiting. He doesn't need to drop the Scotty Barnes bomb until somebody else offers a better player, and I don't think anybody else has.
Scotty's nice too.
So that's I'm going to talk about
him later.
I'm going with the
All right, Amari, what do you got for KD?
I think he goes back to Brooklyn. I just don't see any other trade package that's going to work out unless it's some type of multi-team, multiplayer deal that really shakes up the whole league. But I think he goes back to Brooklyn at this point, especially because, as we've always stressed, he has 4 years left in his contract. So, I mean, the team really holds all the cards right now, no matter how bad KD says he wants out. But for the team that they would have if he does stay, I mean, KD, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie, I don't think they're better than Philadelphia, but I think they're a decent team, and they probably can make some noise in the playoffs. But it just depends. Like, we talk about Kyrie's availability, we talk about Ben Simmons, his mentals, and maybe his injury history. He did just have back surgery.
Poor Ben Simmons, bro.
Yeah, I know. He's kind of like an afterthought at this point. But I mean,
I just want us to think whenever we talk about Ben Simmons anytime on this show ever again, or I'm just going to bring it up the rest of my life when we talk about Ben Simmons, is that there's like an argument to be made, and it's always about, like, we talk about like quarterbacks in football a lot, like the system and the organization and the structure you go into matters as much as anything. And Ben Simmons went into a team that wanted to lose.
Are you calling him a system quarterback?
Yes, Ben Simmons is definitely a system quarterback, and shit, that system in Philly wasn't working, and I don't know what I think his system includes a lot of COD, unfortunately, like with Kyler.
That's the thing. I think I don't think that it didn't work. I think that it did. Just something he just got in his head for whatever reason. Because there's no way that team should have lost to Atlanta. I mean, they're okay.
Well, they had to blame somebody. That's the thing, is they had to blame somebody. Doc wasn't going to blame Joel.
Doc wasn't taking it again.
Doc wasn't taking it that time.
No, and he was an easy target because as he should have been blamed for what he did. But like I said, up until that point, to me, it was working. It was working. What is he going to do to get better? And that was the problem. He wasn't really getting better at what he was already good at or the things that he could work at. But it was working. When you make the playoffs basically every year and you're an all-star, it's working.
Yeah, they also had like the best excuse in the world. Like their whole motto was trust the process. Like they could have just rolled that into the ground. They could have kept saying it. Philly fans made new shirts every year that said trust the process. They were buying in. The reason it went sour is because the players and the coach let it go sour. Literally, as soon as they lost Doc and Joel, which I think on the court it was mostly Ben Simmons and why they lost that series. But the reason that they need to blow up the team and the reason the whole thing went sour is because Doc and Joel threw him under the bus right after the game in the press conference. I mean, and if they felt that way, fine. But I mean, they kind of ruined the whole thing. I think that's when it went sour, is in that moment after the game. I think Ben deserves a lot of the blame. It seems to me that he's not as invested as a lot of basketball teams would want him to be. And maybe that stemmed from, the way he saw that his peers thought about him. But yeah, I'm with you, Amari. I think it was working. I mean, only one team can win the championship every year. Like you said, he was an all-star. They were getting to the playoffs consistently. It must be something in his head where he doubts himself or he thinks the people around him doubt him. But I guess it's my turn to guess my KD prediction here. I saw something that resurfaced today, and I think this is like a dark horse, but I would honestly like to see it. I think he's going to New Orleans.
Oh, you think they're going to give up Ingram though? Do they really want to give up Ingram? Okay.
Oh, I think they should. I think they'd be stupid not to.
That's the next KD, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Zion worries me still. I just want to see him play a game of basketball. But the second he plays a game of basketball, his value goes intrinsically up right away because then we have the proof that he's back. But
I think the package would be Ingram, Devontae Graham, CJ McCollum, and like a pick or two. Because I think McCollum and Brandon Ingram are, I think if you have those two guys in a deal, you don't have to throw in many picks. I think they're both very high value. Both have a lot left in the tank. And speaking of Brandon Ingram being the next KD, I still can't get over one of the funniest things I saw from Brandon Ingram's first year. They were like, Brandon Ingram's Kevin Durant if he had Wiz Khalifa's tendencies. And it's just Brandon Ingram's draft picture, like him looking high as hell and having KD's game, but like that's a little, hilarious. Obviously not as polished. I still can't get that out of my head every time I think about Ingram and KD. But yeah, I think dark horse Pelicans for our friend Kevin Durant here.
So if you could put KD on any team just for fun, like he just gets to go somewhere, what is the most fun place though? And this could be sabotaging KD because you're tired of him. Whatever. Just
but a realistic trade would have to work.
No,
like people would.
No, I just like.
Oh, I mean, it would be the Celtics.
Be a ridiculous trade.
It would be the Celtics. It would be keeping the two J's and having KD,
Smart and Bert and everybody else, basically.
Yeah. Keep Rob, keep Smart, keep the J's, get KD. Everyone else,
just
whatever.
Drop him in there.
Yeah, just run with think that. I mean, to me, that's obviously biased, but yeah, I think that'd be the funnest.
That's fair. Well, that's a good take, Mari. So you gonna say the Cavs then? Because I was thinking about the Cavs.
But... I thought that, but when you say the most fun, as much as I hate it for obvious reasons, I would say the Warriors.
It would be the most fun. I mean, it would be we would hear about, but the thing is, basketball would turn into. Could you imagine how much Warriors coverage there would be every day? It would be nuts, bro. It'd be like the Beatles.
And I would hate every single second of it, but
that is very fun. I was thinking like Sacramento would be like just the funniest place for him to end up. Like Sacramento just sells like every first round pick or something, and De'Aaron Fox, and they're like, all right.
I mean, you might as well put him back in OKC. They have first round picks for the next 80 years. So I mean,
him and
I was thinking him and Russ. That's what needs to happen with this 4-team trade. You get the Nets, you get OKC, you got Utah, you got the Lakers, and somehow Russ and KD end up.
Oh my God, Utah! Put him in Utah.
I nearly.
Oh my God.
Danny Ainge would die of a happy heart attack if he landed KD, bro. He's been trying to do that since 2016.
What if the Bucks offered Middleton, Holiday, every first round pick they basically have, and something else?
I think
you have Giannis and KD.
The Bucks win the next 3 championships, and KD rides off into the
sunset. If I'm Milwaukee, I would really think about doing that. Because Drew Holiday is an older guard, and you both know, at least I think at this point, how much I feel about older guards. Like, I would rather sell early than not. It's like running backs with me at this point.
They got rid of a lot of first-round picks to get Drew, though, didn't they?
They did. They would have to get rid of a lot more picks than they would probably initially want to. But you would be like the favorite for the title for the next 4 years.
Yeah, it would have to be like Portis, Middleton,
and that's
Drew.
A good deal. That's a good deal.
Maybe send Lopez back home. Send Lopez back home.
All this stuff with the Nets too about like Joe Tsai, like Nets culture stuff and everything. Oh, we want to be competitive, but we want Nets guys to do it the right way. All that stuff. I know, but I'm just saying, like this is what Nets fans like talk about. Like, oh, with when we were the 8th seed and had D'Angelo Russell, like everybody was so happy because it seemed like there was good chemistry, all that stuff. Middleton and Holiday would be the perfect guys to bring that along. Now, them dealing with Kyrie Irving would be another thing. But apparently the Lakers are ready to trade for Kyrie Irving now. I saw that from the Athletic Lakers writer, is that they're apparently willing to give up the extra additional picks for Kyrie if they want to now. So I still don't think that the Nets don't have a reason to do that unless they actually trade KD. So
yeah,
it's a lot of what ifs. I do think the Bucks would be they should think about that, but
I might be on board that'd probably be the funnest. I think 1, 2, 3 for me would be, because I'll put Celtics 3 because that's just like my bias and what I would want in like a perfect world. I think 1, 2, 3 though would be a reunion with Russ and KD and OKC is number 1, 2 Milwaukee Bucks, and then 3 Celtics for me. Do you guys? The more I think about it, I know I said I was going to ask you guys about Simmons and Kyrie here. I'll go first with this one because it's pretty easy for me. I just wanted to get your opinion. I like that you brought up the Kyrie to LA talks aren't dead yet. I think Kyrie is going to be a Brooklyn Net. I also think Ben Simmons is going to be a Brooklyn Net. However, I think they play a combined 50 games.
Jeez. Who plays more?
Ben.
Kyrie is going.
You know what though? It wouldn't. To be, I mean, we all talk about how smart Kyrie is, how intellectual he is, whatever. It wouldn't be smart for him to play as I don't want to say as little as possible, but it would be smart for him to play as much as possible.
That's true.
Into next season.
The contract.
So I'm not sure if maybe you get some type of motivated Kyrie that'll really make the difference between last year and this year. But I mean, it really should just work out for him to play as much as he can, because as we saw last year, even the games that he did play, even, considering how much time he missed, I mean, he still played at an all-star level. So, I mean, you get that for 70 games, I think Brooklyn will take that.
I think I'm on the Kyrie is going to light it up bandwagon just because of what you just said.
He's only going to up his value at that point.
Dunny, I've heard talk about this so many times. I love
that was a very good point,
players. That is a very good point. Kyrie is going to go crazy this year because he wants a max.
Well, he
contract.
should.
Or he should want to be.
The thing is, that's what he should be striving for. Who knows?
But this is really,
you're right.
He should. This is the most desperate position. If we're really being real about that, though, this is the most desperate position he's ever been in. He's had leverage.
He has never been in desperate. Yeah.
He had leverage over the Cavs because he knew LeBron was leaving in a year. He had leverage over the Celtics because he blew them up, and they knew he wanted them to get rid of him. And
I mean, he had the whole Celtics fan base in the palm of his hand. I'm pissed at what he did, but he had us, bro.
He did. And he had leverage up until he took that player option, because no matter what, he could find a way to return to the Nets. Whether he got traded or not, he always had the option to opt in and stay and wait another year. Now that's a great point, because now this is really the last time he has leverage over anything. Like, the world, it's in his hands, actually. He can't escape anything. Like, if he gets he gets hurt, which hopefully that doesn't happen, or B, if he is ridiculous like he has been the last couple of years for any which reason, who knows if anybody's gonna give him a max? Sacramento's gonna give him a max, bro. I'll come back to that. Someone's gonna give him a max, I think, but it is important for him if he wants to like maximize it for sure.
Yeah, while we're on the topic, like talking about situations and players on certain teams that are fun, I think a team with Kyrie and Ben and KD out the door, I think that if, bearing that Kyrie does play and is motivated for this next contract, I think that'd be a super fun situation. I know I've brought it up countless times on this podcast, but I was randomly first, something I was doing with UMass Amherst Radio when I was a student, the beginning of the 2019-2020 NBA season. I was in Brooklyn because I had to go to Barclays the next day. So I caught the home opener of the Nets season that year. And Kyrie was alone as a Brooklyn Net that night, and he dropped, I believe it was 51 in his Nets debut. And it was one of the best single in-person athletic performances I've ever seen, not just basketball. I mean, he is one of the best shows on the hardwood when he plays and when he's right-minded. So I think, a motivated Kyrie, an untucked Kyrie, if you will, going for chasing that next contract, I think that'd be very fun. And if KD's not there, he has the keys, man. I mean, Ben Simmons not the point guard at that point.
I have a question for you. You talk about with KD not being there. This is just a hypothetical. I want both of you to answer. Say that the team is underachieving with or without KD, and obviously maybe you have Ben Simmons, and Kyrie's playing at an all-star level because he wants that next contract. Do they unload him at the deadline? And if so, to who?
The Lakers.
Because at that point, you could reload with Ben Simmons. Maybe you don't make the playoffs, but you could retool that roster with Ben Simmons as your, I guess, main player, if you will. Because KD wants out and Kyrie's in a contract year. You unloading his money off of the books going before the offseason even begins.
I don't know why, but when you were asking that, the team that just came to mind, like I'd probably have to think about it more to have a better answer, but the team that came to mind is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, I wonder if you send an SGA, a Lou Dort, and then like
some picks
or 5 first rounders. I mean, they have handfuls of them.
And then OKC just lets him go to the market after the season.
Yeah, Kyrie and Chet for the second half of the season, and then they're back where they're at. They still have plenty of draft picks. They still have their guy Chet, and then Brooklyn has SGA, Ben Simmons, and then a bunch of first round pick or a bunch of picks with the role players they already got. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
I actually like that. I'd actually watch Oklahoma City basketball for once.
Him with Chet.
They used to be my second favorite
Chet
team.
And Giddey would be crazy.
Yeah,
because Kyrie is the best shooting guard.
About Giddey.
If Kyrie was 6'5", he'd be the best player in history. Like, he was 6'6", he'd be the best basketball player ever. He's the best shooting guard I've ever seen, but he's 6'1", so he can't be a real shooting guard in the NBA. It's just very unfortunate.
Yeah, he learned how to pass by default. He had to.
I'm sure it's how people felt about Iverson watching him like in his prime too. Not the same exact player, but Iverson would have been a great shooting guard.
I thought Iverson before you even said his name. I'm like, well, you do have Allen Iverson. Yeah, I grew up such a huge Allen Iverson fan. Like, he's my favorite player of all time, so I get it. I'm like, if Iverson can embrace that off-ball role with Giddey in the almost that backcourt, I mean, they could look pretty good even if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, man. What did I don't know. Kyrie, I'm thinking of like a team that's like what about the Bulls? Like, if you trade you have an oft-injured point guard right now that they don't really know what to do with Lonzo. His knees like still iffy, whatever. And you could put together like a Kobe White or why am I blanking on his name right now? Oh my gosh. Ayo DeSomo package of some sort They have a bunch of pieces they could trade if they wanted to, and put him with Levine and DeRozan. I mean, it's not good defensively. That's for sure.
Horrible defensively, especially if they hold on to Vooch.
Yeah, I think they'd
average like 140 a game.
They just must have
all mid range too.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my god, all mid range, bro. DeRozan and Kyrie on the same team alone would be crazy mid range jumpers. Damn.
Yeah, it would be.
I like
crazy.
that. Yeah, I guess the best part of this as a basketball fan, like, I feel like we got a whole bunch of information today. And the craziest part is we are still at square one where anything could happen. We have no one has a clue
what the issue is. At least we never knew what KD's issue. We could speculate about what KD's issue was, but we never knew what the actual issue was. Now it's a target has been named. He like wrote it down like on the like just let it up, put a poster up, something. I don't know. Calling somebody out for a match. I don't know. Like whatever you want to do. That's what KD did today. He's like, it's that guy. He's like, that is my problem right there. Like. I have beef with him. And like I said earlier, like the first thing I said, I feel like it's Marks. It's got to be more Marks than Nash at this point. And I'm sure Marks just doesn't want to. Like he gave up so much to get this guy in here and do what he wanted to do to succeed. I guess I would be a little bit. I could see why they're contentious. It makes a lot of sense why they'd be contentious. I don't know which guy is right, but I get why they're not. Why they're.
I also saw something right before we hopped on saying Brooklyn Nets willing to part ways if they need to with Steve Nash in order to keep Kevin Durant. It's like, well, yeah, that's the most obvious statement of all time. But I think it's bigger than that, especially of what you're alluding to. I think it is more Sean Marks than Steve Nash.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think best part about this, if you're an NBA fan and if you're, kind of just waiting and a little sick and tired of all this, we have a little more information like what Jake just said. And like all the obscene, not real possibilities and trade packages that we just went over, any of that potentially could happen still. So I think we're still due for something huge to happen between, any 1-3 of these guys or all three of them, Simmons, KD, and Kyrie. That is, I think we're still due for a big Woj Shams bomb at the end of the summer / beginning of camp. So I guess we have that to look forward to. My last thing I want to say before we move on to, the Pro-Am games of the summer and all that madness, I do feel, and this is coming from someone who loves to poke fun at Ben Simmons and loves to trash him when it's deserving. I feel a little bad for Simmons about that whole rumor that came out about him leaving the group chat after they asked if he was playing in Game 4. Like some dude literally sat on a talk show just to make that up, and then, hours later, after the internet already had a field day with it, got reliable sources like guys like Shams and other tuned in basketball heads around the league came out and said that is not true. That didn't happen. So I do feel a little bad for Simmons in this. I think some of it he did to himself, but like ricochet shots like that on a day yesterday where it should all be about Kevin Durant, that I don't know. I mean, I do know why someone makes it up for clicks, but that's low to me.
I agree. All right, Johnny, you want to get into some of this summer stuff?
Yeah.
Lock it in here, bro.
I do. All right. So I'm sure you guys, I know Jake and Amari are tuned in here, but we have some, I feel like, and maybe this just gets bigger every summer with professionals and guys in the NBA going to play at these Pro-Am games, the semi-professional, the guys who were either amateurs or, very good street ball players, or guys who just work 9 to 5 and love to hoop in their respected leagues. But we see pros play every summer. It's good. I actually like, as much as DeJounte has been acting up, and we're going to get into that, how crazy DeJounte Murray's been since he got that bag from Atlanta playing in these games. He had a quote that said, I don't really understand the scary ass part, but he said, get your scary ass out there and go play for the kids, alluding to basically, he's trying to encourage more NBA guys to go play in front of these kids who don't have to pay to watch NBA talent. And I think that part's cool. And if that's why they're doing it, I'm all here for it. But that's not all of it. That's not all of it. It's not all about playing for the kids. DeJounte Murray has been going wild, bouncing the ball off random dudes' heads, going at Paulo Banchero in game and on the internet afterwards. This meme is awesome. That I guess DeJounte has turned himself into a meme a little bit with these, but I want to get your guys' opinions. Do you think it's corny? Do you think he's trying to hype up his own brand, his own stock? You know, now that he has a new team going to Atlanta, he's going to have a little bit more of a spotlight. What do you guys think about DeJounte Murray and what he's been up to in these Pro-Am games?
I think this is DeJounte Murray's like true self. And he was with Pop, and he couldn't unleash himself.
That's a
and
good
Pop
point.
was like locking this shit down. This is just DeJounte Murray just giving the receipts that he's been getting, bro. He's seen all the talk, and now he can finally be somewhere where he can just like Atlanta's not gonna care. Trey's always talking, like all those guys are always talking shit. It's the Hawks, bro. Like we don't get Bing Bong without Trae Young talking shit to fans and everything else. So I think he's just embracing it. I think he's like letting loose.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, when you're in San Antonio, there's a whole culture there. So, I mean, nobody really has a personality when they're there. But as far as the aspect of getting out there and seeing NBA players, you know, perform, you know, you don't have to pay anything. It's more of an amateur type environment. I really do like that because I like what DeMar DeRozan is doing, where he goes to different places and he's like, I might have a guest. And obviously the first one was LeBron. So for him to do that and then bring another talent with him, I think is really cool. I think it also will increase more visibility and popularity to these Pro-Am events because, I mean, we've seen it. I don't think, for me at least, it has been as much of being worthy in the news cycle since the lockout. And that was like 10, 11 years ago. So, I mean, for this to happen, I think it only encourages more basketball news during what could be a slow offseason during the summer. You know, get out there and play some games, you know, for people that want to see it. Go to Drew League, go to Rucker Park. So, I mean, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it's always been the most fun part of the NBA summer for me. Like, just seeing there's so many, like, I remember so many hours on YouTube just watching all these highlight videos, like, from summers past and everything else. It is a good time. There's been more, though. This summer has been eventful as hell. This is only apparently this is hype, and I don't know if we should be worried about this or anything, but guys, like Harden having trouble here, bro.
Oh, yes, this is what I want to bring up. For those who are just listening and not watching, Jake just pulled up a video of Scotty Barnes putting the absolute clamps on James Harden for like what would probably be close to a full 24-second shot clock. He makes Harden pass out to the wing once, gets the ball back.
Right there.
Yeah.
Oh my
gets
God.
the ball back, gets clamped up again, and then throws up an absolute brick. And Scotty Barnes is hyping himself up, you know, respectfully so. I mean, he earned that. And then even after the play, Pascal comes down and scores on the other end. And Barnes is hyped the whole video.
What a run. What a that would be crazy to be at.
I don't know.
In a pickup run.
That might be a carryover from the Sixers Raptors series. Nick
Nurse is probably there talking a bunch of shit, bro. Yeah. I didn't know what the most important thing to draw from that was because here I am like a month and a half ago when Harden said, he's putting in the toughest offseason workouts he's ever done. He took the pay cut. I was like, damn, are we about to get Houston Harden back this year? And he's highly motivated. He wants a championship. I had kind of flipped my thinking on James Harden for a little bit. And obviously it's one clip. This is me overreacting. This is me doing what the rest of the media does. But after seeing that, I'm like, okay, well, he just got locked up by Scotty Barnes basically twice in the same possession in just an open gym run. How good could Harden's offseason training be going right now? And then on the flip side, I'm like, well, Scotty Barnes is damn good. I've been high on him since college. Maybe we're just seeing Scotty Barnes turn into like a baby Kawhi right in front of our eyes. So I didn't really know which way to lean. It could be a little of both. It could just be that neither of them were, or James Harden wasn't really trying that much. It is, just an open gym.
Harden's lost, bro. That's what he's done.
I think that could be it.
I think he's.
I was saying that last playoffs.
I thought it was
Me too, yeah.
He's looking rough in the playoffs. I don't know what to expect out of him anymore.
You can
Yeah,
only
so we
take so
got-
many step backs. I think it's just he ran out. He had
We
a
got
quota.
guys like DeJounte Murray acting a
Hold
fool. You know, him dunking on Paulo. I think that was sick. Him taking it to IG afterwards, too much. Yeah, this is the next thing I was gonna bring up. I was gonna say it's not all bad though. Like we got guys like Kyle Kuzma coming out here dropping 67 points, 14 rebounds, and 9 assists. Was that say in the Powder League in Utah?
The Powder League, yeah.
So yeah, it's you get a little bit of everything with these games. You get the shit talk, and you get two NBA guys going at it. You got guys like Kuz who don't really have a care in the world. He's just going out and getting his. Like he knows he can do this. I feel like he believes he can do this every NBA game. That's just the Kyle Kuzma confidence right there. And then
he
flip side, this is the New York Knicks for you folks. Obi Toppin, Jalen Brunson, new New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, and Julius Randle all teamed up for a Pro-Am game, and they lose by, I put 18 here. I think it was 13, though. I'm going to fact check myself. I believe it was, regardless, I mean, 3 guys who are on the same NBA team lost in like a semi-pro league game by 13 points. Yeah, it was 13. That just can't happen ever. And the fact that it just gets out there, because they had a group chat like that morning, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go to this Pro-Am game.
Yeah,
We're gonna get buckets. It's gonna be all lobs to Toppin. Like, let's go. And
in the playoffs too, bro. In the playoffs, it wasn't even just a game, bro. They lost the playoffs. They brought him in. They're like, we got the big hitters tonight. We're gonna move on, bro. We're set. And then they lose. Could you imagine how mad the dudes that regularly play on that team are? Like, we brought in 3 New York Knicks, and we lost by 13. Like,
and not only did they lose by 13, again, the people who are just listening and not watching right now, the two dudes on the opposing team put up 40 pieces, and the highest out of Obi, Randle, and Jalen Brunson was Obi Toppin with 25 points. So
Julius
not only did they lose, they got outscored.
He averaged 19 points in the NBA, and he scored 18 points in this game. He's consistent, bro. Consistently average.
Yeah.
I know John Collins had a very disappointing performance when him and Trae Young teamed up at a Pro-Am game. I believe they lost as well. So yeah,
John Collins ain't locked in, bro. I don't think
it's the summer of the 9-to-5ers, man. Because even those dudes who were getting worked by LeBron James,
St. Bonaventure, Dion Wright, Western New York, Gabe Love. That guy, I remember watching him in the tournament, and then I realized who it was. I was like, "Oh shit!" Yeah, had family go Bonaventure. He did. He looked so scared though against LeBron. I know he wasn't. I believe that he wasn't. But in that moment, he was definitely terrified. I would be too. I would be too.
But that'd be the most excited I would ever be to tell anyone that I got cooked or dunked on or swatted or pinned. I would probably try to get a fast break layup and then beg for it on the fast break just to get pinned by LeBron James.
just walk it up, just go slow.
Yeah, I just floated up, pretend finger roll just so he could Andre Iguodala me off the glass. But yeah, I mean, do you guys have any other closing thoughts here on the Pro-Am drama or performances or any of that? I know we're missing a few guys.
I want more.
Me too. I kind of want to go to one.
We need I
wish there was more around the Boston area.
These dudes need to set up a game where it's like some crazy rosters against each other in a Pro-Am. Like some we
need like
a
traveling Pro-Am team or something.
Yeah,
we need a traveling team because we don't have any in Cleveland, especially not that I know of. But I would definitely love to go to a game or two.
And there's so many of those leagues popping up. Like obviously we've had the Big Three for a couple of years. We got that one-on-one league that I believe Tracy McGrady's creating. I think he's the one behind that. Yeah,
that's gonna be. I think that'd be. I want to see the one-on-one league is more exciting to me than the Big Three, honestly, because it's gonna be different, but it's gonna be so interesting to see who the guys are that come through and how they score. Like, is it gonna be like guys that can shoot? Is it gonna be dude physical, just monsters? Like, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be more pickup style, which I mean. Mm-hmm. If you think about pickup basketball, I mean that's pretty much everybody's first love because that's what you first start doing when you're a kid. So it's going to definitely gravitate to a lot of people and definitely be popular. I think it'll take off.
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna have a ton of appeal.
I can't wait.
He did a interview with Part of My Take not too long ago, and he was kind of just putting out the word about his league and talking about it, and they were asking him questions about how guys like Bone Collector and those certain one-on-one street ball players would match up against NBA talent or like even ex-NBA talent, and he was like those dudes would still get destroyed. He's like, you have no idea. He claimed he wasn't going to be performing in it, but he was like, I would still give guys like Bone Collector the business, and I think I believe that, but I think this league will be a good opportunity for those guys to maybe shut him up and prove him wrong, and all the fans to tune in and see what it really is to you have these pro dunkers, because that's something that's hot on YouTube and people love watching that kind of stuff. You have the guys who are just strictly ankle breakers, and then you have the ex NBA vets or guys who were nasty in college who never really made it, and they can show their stuff. Yeah, I'm super excited for the one-on-one league, and I think you're right, Amari. I think we need more of these pro-am game popping up everywhere.
All right, what's your trade? That's what we need to.
I know. I was just gonna ask.
Okay, you look scared. What's gonna happen here?
I'm not scared. I think people are gonna maybe think this.
You're gonna scare the people.
A scary idea or a scary take. All right, so yeah, we're gonna end the show with I had an epiphany. I had a vision today when I was walking around at work, and I have a trade proposal for the fans of the NBA here. I think this would solve a lot of issues from both teams involved, from both players involved. My trade that I think should happen before the season starts is I believe the Los Angeles Lakers should trade Russell Westbrook to the Phoenix Suns for Chris Paul. I don't think it would be a straight up trade. I think LA would probably have to send a little more, one, to make contracts work, and two, I don't think Phoenix would do that straight up. Hear me out. I'll start with the Lakers side because I think it's easy. I think Bron and CP have wanted to play with each other for most of their career, if not towards the end of their career here. We know that they're buddies. It's the last person of the Banana Boat crew who Bron hasn't played with, right? I mean, he's been with Melo, he's been with Wade. And then, obviously he became buddies with Chris Bosh this time in Miami. I think Chris Paul wants that ring, his first ring. LeBron James wants another one. I think the Los Angeles Lakers, the problem their last 2 years has been they haven't had a real point guard, or a point guard that fits well with LeBron James, I should say, because I refuse to slander Russ and say that he's not a real point guard. So I think the Lakers side obviously makes sense. Why I think Russ would thrive in Phoenix and why I think he would be a better fit alongside Devin Booker opposed to Chris Paul is because I think a lot of times in close games or even games that aren't close but are big, I think they don't really know who their closer is in Phoenix, but it should be Devin Booker. I think maybe, earlier on in Chris Paul's career, he could be the guy and he could run the show. I think Booker needs to step up and start running that team. I think it's hard for him to do with Chris Paul there. I think maybe even other guys on the team don't really know who the alpha dog is. And I think just a guy like Russ, who's a step down from playmaking from Chris Paul, but really not that far off. If you've been watching Russ his whole career, he's a fantastic playmaker. He's averaged, over 10 assists multiple times in his career. I think he would thrive next to Devin Booker. I think he shouldn't have as much pressure to take as much shots as he had on any other team he's played for. And the best years of Russell Westbrook's career is when he had Steven Adams as his center. You put him with a guy like DeAndre Ayton, who's more athletic and a little more well-rounded than Steven Adams, I think forget about it. I think that pick and roll, I think that 1-2 punch with Russell Westbrook and DeAndre Ayton would be unstoppable. I mean, look at the player that he turned Daniel Gafford and Alex Len into in their time in Washington. I mean, those dudes were absolute nobodies. They're back to being nobodies now, and they were pretty relevant that year that Russ was going off in Washington because of the point guard that Russell Westbrook is. He did it with Steven Adams. He did it with those two nobodies. I think he would be electric with DeAndre Ayton. I think he's the perfect point guard to put next to Devin Booker, and I rest my case.
Drop the pen on that one.
Yeah.
I was definitely interested to see your take on Phoenix because I could definitely see from the Lakers side, but I was struggling to try to see your point for Phoenix. But as you were saying it, I could definitely see it, especially with that pick and roll, because he'll definitely have options. And they definitely have shooters too. As long as you don't have to give up those shooters to send to Los Angeles to try to sweeten that deal. But if they can keep those guys, it could definitely work out. Plus, I mean, I don't know. I'm reminiscing here. If he gets back with campaign, who knows what happens?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that wrinkle. That's another thing. And I guess the one last thing I forgot to mention there was just his intensity. I think it's, and I'm not saying that the reason that Phoenix team lacks intensity right now is because of Chris Paul, but I mean, dude, look at that loss they took to Dallas. The way they went out in the playoffs this year, like, especially how good they were in the regular season, that was embarrassing. I don't think a loss that bad happens or is even possible of happening if you have a guy like Russell Westbrook on your roster. I think that's just another thing he brings to the table, and it's something that Phoenix is lacking.
Yo, to be honest, like, I think money-wise, I wouldn't be afraid of pulling the rug out of Chris Paul earlier than later because, I said it earlier, old point guards, like, he's doing
injuries too.
Shit. Yeah.
We've seen it already.
And and even with Russ, even if it goes horribly, then they get out from under that money next year, after next year, and maybe they could pay Ayton and make things right, or get somebody else even. That is you guys have been making great points about that, and I feel like it's an interesting
question. I was gonna say the question for me, we talk about Chris Paul and his injury history. You already got you already have Anthony Davis. Now you're talking about bringing Chris Paul.
Yo, AD's back, bro. AD's back. They said they're putting the offense through him.
Two injury-prone guys that are supposed to be part of your big three. I mean, LeBron's going to be out there again by himself, and we already know what that looks like.
Yeah,
I think if you're Los Angeles, you got to think about that too.
Well, they know Bron's coming to Cleveland next year anyway. So
okay. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it.
I agree with that, Amari. I think, obviously I think there's a lot of things that would have to be tweaked perfectly for this trade to work. I think if you're the Lakers, the way they have their team built, I think they already are like championship in the next 2 years or a couple championships in the next 3 years or bust, because I think just the way their team's constructed right now, that's kind of what their outlook has to be. And I don't think they really love Russ long-term. And it's not like he's like a young buck point guard. He's younger than Chris Paul, but not much younger. So I think they're kind of in that arena anyway, where they already have the old heads. I mean, they did it last year. Their roster was basically a nursing home, and now they have this group. So I don't think it would be too far off if they bring in a guy like Chris Paul. But yeah, I mean, it's a hot take trade proposal for a reason. I'm going to clip it and then hopefully get made fun of all over TikTok and Instagram. But yeah, that's my trade proposal. I'd love to see it happen.
Hey man, crazier things have happened. That's for sure.
He wants everything. He wants KD in Boston. He wants Russ in Phoenix. I mean, my goodness.
Russ in Phoenix. Lakers, banana boat reunion. D-Wade sells his stake in the Jazz, comes back to the Lakers.
Kyrie's going to OKC.
Just one more step. Yeah, it's just one more. You know what's going to happen? KD gets traded just to OKC, and then Russ forces his way out, and then next year is the reunion. It's like we know where he's going. He tries to maximize it out.
And then Thabo Sefolosha comes out of retirement.
James Harden is only a 2-year contract with a player option. Mm-hmm. Get him in OKC too. Just bring everybody back.
That James Harden would need in OKC, he'd have to James would literally have to funnel people in from different cities.
Well, he has the money; he can just build one.
That's what I mean. He is going to fund this he would have to fund his own strip club empire in Oklahoma City. I feel like that was a major problem for him. Or maybe it was just when he showed up. Because he went to Arizona State, right? So partied like crazy in college for sure. And then probably shows up to OKC and is like, what the fuck is going on here? And then he goes to Houston, and I imagine that has to be an eye-opening experience even for an Arizona State grad. Houston's a different level, you know? But he was well prepared. He really was, because I imagine that dude was getting after it for 4 years or however long he was in college. Not with a beard, though. He did not. He like the beard.
No beard.
It's a shocking look when you see him without
weird
that
as
beard.
hell, man. Some Twilight Zone shit, seeing James Harden without his beard.
All right, that's it then, right?
Yeah,
we just hit an hour. That's perfect.
I think
great
I exhausted all the crazy NBA takes I can give out for the day.
LeBron is going to the Cavs. That
was the least crazy thing we said, I think.
I really believe that's happening. That's why Sexton's not going to get signed, bro. They're waiting. They want to get rid of him somehow. And they don't want to take money in.
One last thing,
sure.
I guess if we're saying crazy things in perfect worlds, how awesome would it be if KD did go to the Celtics, LeBron back to the Cavs, and we just fire up that rivalry all the way again?
I don't know if we could do this anymore. I'd hate the Celtics so much. I couldn't hear you talk about this. I'd be getting real mad over here, like the Arnold meme. To be like, fuck KD. If KD went to the Celtics, bro, he might I don't sports hate a lot of athletes anymore because I don't know, it's just not worth as much time for me. But KD would be pretty close to Tom Brady levels for me if that happened. And
it'd be weaker than the Golden State move because it wasn't the team you just lost
to. The Golden State move I understood though. This one is just he's doing too much.
Yeah, this one he's not a free agent. 4 years left, and he just got swept by these dudes.
He's not adding to a team. He's trying to blow up a championship team just to get a spot on a team just to get away from his GM.
Yeah,
it's Kyrie levels. It's Kyrie levels of sabotage, to be honest.
Who knows, man?
He's learning from the best.
All right, stay locked in, folks. Stay tuned into our show. Stay tuned into the crazy NBA media out there. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Believe nothing until it's in ink. And yeah, stay tuned into these pro-am games. You might just learn something about your favorite player.
Have a great one, folks.
Peace out, guys.